Have you ever felt like you've done everything you can to cope with grief and yet you still feel stuck? I've experienced that, in fact, just as recently as yesterday. I couldn't get off the couch. I wanted to record this podcast and I was stuck. And last week I asked, what do you want to talk about when it comes to grief? And I had an overwhelming response to how to cope. I tried a lot of these yesterday, and eventually I just resigned myself to the fact that maybe I just needed to veg for a day. So I watched a movie, I watched some entertaining shows, and I did, in fact, do some of these things as well. After a good night's sleep, I feel so much better today, which sleep is another topic, which we will address later. If you're here, thank you. I appreciate it. And you're in for a real treat today because I've done my due diligence. I've researched some of these methods, and I'm going to share with you the importance of doing these 5-minute grief hacks that you can stop what you're doing at any time and put them into your day. But before we get going, let's talk about some of the things that we do that are not helpful, like mindless scrolling on social media or running to the refrigerator looking for that comfort food, sugar, carbs, just laying in bed all day. Let's change that. I do want to say, though, that these things are not failures. This is your body and your brain's way of trying to keep you safe, right? It's trying to protect you from the feelings, the intense feelings of grief or latent grief that your body holds on to, and sometimes you need to move forward with. So I don't want you beating yourself up about taking a day, just as recently as yesterday, to do nothing, because that's okay. I also want you to know that we're not fixing grief. We're learning how to cope with it, how to live with it, how to manage it on a daily basis. And like anything in our lives, grief kind of follows this up and down pattern, right? Some days we're feeling great, or moments we're feeling great, and other moments we can dip down into that sinking feeling. And that is perfectly normal. So today I want to illustrate, talk about, and explain why these things actually work for grief recovery. Some of the big strategies that I like to encourage are coloring, doodling, making art, or reaching out to a trusted friend and having a deep discussion, or journaling, writing down our feelings, flushing them out, or writing positive affirmations. But we're going to do a deep dive into some 5-minute hacks that you can use every day at any moment. Just pull them out of your pocket, per se, and use them to help you get through those tough moments. Now, if you're having a tough day, like I did yesterday, it's okay to veg out. There's no right or wrong way when it comes to grief. There's simply coping mechanisms that you can use to help you on your grief journey. And the more we share and talk about it and lean into these practices, the better that we will feel, and the more we will be able to release some of these emotions that are keeping us stuck. The first reset that I want to talk about, and you can do these for as little as 5 minutes a day. Pick your favorite. One of the people that I recently had the privilege of listening to was Hal Enrod. He was on a call that I was a part of, and he talked about morning routines. And I have my own morning routine, but one of the things that you can do is create your own morning routine with some of the things that I've outlined in this podcast. So the first one I do want to talk about is breathwork. I've talked about this before, how important it is, how you can stop what you're doing at any place and just start doing some simple breath work. One of my favorite breath work routines is slow inhalation and exhalation. And I always make it a point to tell you that having a longer exhale stimulates the parasympathetic nervous system. That is the rest, relax state. It brings us back down and helps us with our emotions. But I do want to talk about some other breathing techniques that are commonly used to help get you through some tough moments. One is called box breathing. And box breathing, picture a box, right? You want 4 sides of equal breaths, equal counts. And this is important to help self-regulate. So why are these different breathing techniques scientifically backed? We're going to talk about that. And I've written a few of these things down so I don't forget to tell you. Slow rhythmic breathing stimulates the parasympathetic nervous system, helps regulate the body, decrease that fight or flight, and get you into that state of calm, which really helps when you're dealing with tough emotions. You can also stimulate the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve goes from the brain to the stomach, and sometimes in my medical practice, we would have people bear down and push on that nerve, and that kind of slows the heart rate down and also takes you into that state of relaxation. And breathing techniques can also do that. The power of the exhale. As you get to the end of that exhale, you can feel it stimulating that vagus nerve. I want you to try that a couple of times, okay? You can do the box breathing. You can do the slow inhale, exhale with concentrating on a longer exhale and really feeling that in the bottom of your stomach to stimulate that vagus nerve. So this is a simple technique that you can do anywhere at any time. Just take a break and start doing some breathing exercises. The second thing I want to talk about is writing it out. Now, I've talked about this extensively before. I also have a 30-day free journal prompt in my Skool support community. It's the Creative Grief Journey, and it's free on Skool. So you can join that, go into the classroom section, and start doing those 30-day journal prompts. I have one that will come directly to your email as well, and that is in the show notes. Check out one of those specific reading prompts. Now, I will say the one that I have in Skool, I've also included some creativity prompts such as doodling or different things to color or write. So check out both of them, see which one you like the best. But writing in a journal has been a huge catalyst in my healing. And there's different things you can do. You can write out your emotions. You can write positive affirmations. You can talk about the cruddy feelings that you're carrying. And there is scientific evidence to prove that this is beneficial in helping you on your grief journey. So you write out those cruddy feelings, take 5 minutes, get them out on paper, and then at the end, you can tear it up, you can get rid of it, and that signifies that you are releasing and you're pushing those aside. I will say that I have kept some, not all, but a few of the things that I've written and taken a moment to reflect back on them, and that gives me an idea of how far I've come. One example I have is when I wrote about losing Brad pretty recently after his death, and I talked about how I wish it were me instead of him, and how unfair it was, and how I didn't want to go on. And I look at that as a prime example of how far I've come. Although I miss my son dearly and miss his physical presence here on earth, I've come so far and I've done so many beautiful, amazing things. I want to be here. I want to be a beacon of light for others. And just reflecting on that I wrote almost 10 years ago has given me insight on my own personal journey of healing and growth. So what's the science behind writing in a journal for your grief journey or for your emotional regulation? There is increasing science. Now, sometimes people have difficulty writing, and that's okay. You can dictate into a note on your phone and read it through and then discard it, erase it. You can write it out on a piece of paper and tear it up or burn it or throw it away. But there is some scientific evidence that shows when you use your hand to write, it specifically engages more parts in the brain to help with emotional regulation and connection to the feeling so that you can then release it from the body. So I do encourage writing with your hand because there's scientific evidence backing that is more beneficial. There's also evidence that writing something in a journal stimulates the prefrontal cortex and diminishes the amygdala center in the brain. So what's that mean in common terms? Basically, what that means is you stop treating these emotions as real threats. That amygdala kind of gets simmered down, and in the prefrontal cortex, you're able to think things through and make logical conclusions to your feelings and thoughts. It also encourages brain dump, which kind of declutters all the cognitive thoughts floating around in your brain. So it's really therapeutic and very beneficial, even if you just do it for 5 minutes a day. One more thing that this does, it stimulates both the left and the right side of the brain. In other words, it stimulates both the creative and the logical parts of the brain, which allows you to regulate those emotions and connect the two so that you can actually process what's going on in your thinking. And that stimulates healing. One thing that I don't talk about as much as I probably should is body movement, and specifically getting up, moving your arms, raising them above your head, shaking your body. This can help. I read this book, The Body Keeps the Score, and body movement can help release some of the emotions that are trapped in our bodies. So, turning on the radio, listening to your favorite song, getting up and moving around, lifting your arms rhythmically can actually help let your body release some of those stored emotions that you're carrying in your body. One thing that this can do is activate the mirror neurons. So if you're watching somebody dance on TV or maybe on YouTube and you mirror that, you can actually pick up the emotions of joy or happiness that person is reflecting to you. And that is scientifically proven. It helps with nervous system regulation. When you're moving rhythmically and intentionally, such as dancing or moving to a song, it connects that part of your body with your emotions, help regulate those feelings. There's a lot of education coming out about somatics and how the body holds on to these, and rhythmic moving, sporadic movement of the arms, jumping up and down, those kind of things really do help. Think about it like you're jarring something loose from your body. So those type of movements help your nervous system release those trapped emotions that are in your body. Pretty cool, right? The next thing, number 4, I want to talk about healing touch. This is a practice that I studied with a nurse and a nun. There's a complete certification program, but you can do a simple healing touch practice with placing your hand over your heart, feeling that connection, and gently saying a positive mantra to yourself, such as, I am safe, I love you, and we are healing. Or you can say something like, I'm safe. I know this is hard for you, but I'm here for you. And just repeat that mantra. Now, there's science behind this too. Self-soothing helps release oxytocin. What's oxytocin? Well, that is the hormone in your body. We call it the love hormone, right? So it promotes self-love, which is very healing. Fun fact, when mothers are nursing a baby, the brain releases oxytocin, which promotes that bond, the love hormone between mother and baby. So oxytocin is definitely something that you want floating around in your bloodstream. It also increases the mind-body connection. I've heard of people having detachment or dysregulation, and when you do this simple practice of connecting your hand with your heart and saying this reaffirming positive affirmation to yourself, it connects you to you. So practice that. Okay, number 5, and stay around for the last one, which is my personal favorite. But number 5 is stepping outside. Now, I love this one too. And there's a lot of research talking about grounding, putting your bare foot to the earth, and just stepping out into nature and appreciating the beauty around you, whether it's warm, cold, even if you're stepping into the rain, and feeling that on your body for 5 minutes can really create a connection with something bigger than you. There's research showing that getting into nature reduces cortisol, can reduce your blood pressure and your heart rate if you're just standing there. Now, if you're exercising or walking, it also reduces cortisol, but of course you're going to increase your blood pressure and heart rate momentarily, which is good physiologically for your body. This can increase sensory engagement, which will decrease overstimulation, such as if you're on your phone a lot or watching TV or have a million things. It encourages you to slow down, take in the moment, and actually feel the things going on around you and really connect with the beauty and the wholeness of this earth. And this is really appropriate because today is Earth Day, so why not go out and do some earthing? Put your soles to the ground. There is some research showing that when we wear our rubber-soled shoes, it disconnects us from the earth. And when you are grounded and connected to the earth, there's some research that shows that it allows free electrons from the earth to come into our body and somewhat neutralize the chaotic electrons that are happening inside of us. So try that 5 minutes a day. See which one of these you like. So let's get to the last tip or coping mechanism that I have for you, and that is creativity. Drawing, doodling, making marks, coloring. All of these things are extremely beneficial for the grief journey. Any kind of emotional journey, actually. These activities have been shown to reduce cortisol, the stress hormone, which, by the way, causes our abdomens to be enlarged. So I definitely want to get rid of that. Gets us into that flow state. Think of deep relaxation. Think of the expression, I'm going with the flow. the stream of life and it's just calm and relaxing. Deep focus. And this activates the reward system in our brain. So let's talk about some of the specific scientific reasons where these practices can help you on your journey. It promotes internal regulation, which means shifting you away from those negative thoughts or distracting emotions that are sinking us down into that deep state of being stuck. Creative mark making actually stimulates the brain's reward system. So I love making papers for different projects, and I just make little marks and then paint on it, and you can do it repetitively, and it actually stimulates your brain's reward system. So it increases concentration, decreases anxiety, which in turn increases your brain's cognitive function. And then one other thing you can do is bilateral stimulation, and you can take both hands, mirror them, move them the same. This actually increases the connection between the right and the left brain, which increases our ability to process things and move through things, such as the intense emotions associated with grief. I have so many more 5-minute tips, but these are really, really important. I also wanted to throw in number 7, doing a morning gratitude or subtype of a spiritual ritual can be really helpful in starting your day. If you don't do it in the morning, have a book. It just simplifies a spiritual practice that you can implement into your daily life. If you don't follow that spiritual teaching, you can do something like writing out a gratitude list every morning, things that you're grateful for. Waking up, even if they're repeated day after day, name 5 things that you're grateful for every single day and do it repeatedly and see how this changes the trajectory of your life. I've thrown out a lot of suggestions. What I want to say is maybe pick 1 or 2 to start with and develop a morning routine that you do every day. And again, you can pick these out of your pocket and use them when you're having moments of stress or really intense grief waves, I like to call them. I also want you to know that you can join the free support group that I have on Skool, the Creative Grief Journey. And I have a free download that you can get in the comments of this podcast that will come into your email, one of them every day for the next 30 days. These kind of prompts are something that I needed, and I still do. I still use prompts to help me stay on track so that I don't have intense days as frequently as I did yesterday. So until next time, keep creating, keep feeling, and keep coming back to you.